Colombian national team podcast for Colombians who, like myself, live outside of Colombia and want to get to know more about the Colombian national team, or even if you're just or if you're not Colombian but you do want to follow Colombia for this edition of the World Cup, you're more than welcome to. We accept you with open arms. Man, the tournament so far has been pretty crazy. I mean, we have some pretty, I guess, surprising some surprising results. Yesterday, Mexico beat Germany for their first time. Not for the first time, but in a long time. I think the last time they beat Germany was like in the 90s or something. But Mexico beat Germany 1-0 yesterday. And we all thought that was it. That was the end of the surprises. But then literally the next game, Brazil-Switzerland, ended in a 1-1 tie. A lot of people saw Brazil as a huge favorite in that game. And then we have Argentina against Iceland, which also ended in a 1-1 tie. Argentina being a huge favorite for that game. And especially with that missed penalty by Messi. A lot of people criticizing him there because of that. But if you look at Messi's penalty kick history, it's not that great. I don't know. They should have sent someone else to take that penalty kick. The best game of the tournament so far has to be Spain and Portugal. That game was just everything. It was tick for tack. Even the way it ended, just with that Ronaldo free kick, it was just a good game. I think that thus far that's been the game of the tournament. Just because of the teams and who played and how it ended. That was crazy. I was like, I'm not Portuguese, or I haven't followed Portugal and in the World Cup, but I saw that game and I was like, holy shit, that was a really good game. Ronaldo putting the team on his back with that hat trick. And man, when he took that free kick, it was gonna go in. Everyone knew. I'm like, that's gonna go in. Like, he put up his shorts, you can see his like legs. He was just like, look, he's like, witness me, and then he did that, and we witnessed it. So that was pretty interesting game. But the game we're here to talk about is Colombia Japan, which is happening tomorrow at 8 a.m. in the morning. That's not a long time, but it's super early. I already called in sick to work. I told them I had strep throat or some shit, and don't worry, they're not gonna find who I am because of this podcast. So I'm not gonna, like, my boss is listening, like, oh, you said blah blah blah. No, I'm okay. And you can't really have beers at 8 in the morning. I mean, you can if you want, if you really want. Have beers or an alcoholic beverage. I'm gonna go for the breakfast thing. I'm gonna have my buñuelos ready, my arepa with eggs, and my Colombian chocolate. And for a lot of people who don't know, Colombian chocolate, it's like this block of concentrated chocolate. Don't get that powder shit. That shit's not good for you. And it's gross, and it's mostly sugar. But you get the Colombian chocolate, you break off a piece, you put it in a pot, you boil the water, and then after you get like this wooden ladle, and like you shake it up really well, and you could add milk to it or stuff like that. I know there's that Colombian cheese. I know this is gonna be weird for a lot of people. I think it was weird. For me, it was the most normal thing until I told someone, and they're like, that's pretty fucking weird. Colombians, we put cheese in our chocolate, and it's not any cheese. Like, we wouldn't put cheddar or some shit like that, or mozzarella. We would put this Colombian cheese that I can't find anywhere else but Colombia, and that sucks because I really like that cheese. So we put it in our chocolate, and it's like, it comes out so spongy and so delicious. I don't know. Usually when I go back to Colombia, I try to get that cheese and put it in my chocolate, and it just tastes really good. And you eat that with an arepa, and it's just deliciousness. There's deliciousness all around, and that's gonna be my pregame, my pre-order or game breakfast. And usually when Colombia plays, I put like my little obsequios, is what we call them, which is like, little trinkets or whatever, good luck stuff. Like, I'll put my Colombian flag in the front of the TV. I'll put like my mini chiva, which every Colombian has. And a chiva, if not, people don't know, it's not I know in Mexico they call it chiva. I think they call it horses or something. In Colombia, a chiva is like a bus with no doors on them. And in Miami they have like chiva buses, party buses, which is really weird, especially when you drive down the street and you see that. But no, I'm not in Miami. I'm And when I was in Miami, I saw that and I was like, man, there's a lot of Colombians here because they're going all out. But yeah, so they have. I put my Chiva in front of the TV. What else do I put? I put like my little wooden Colombian palette, where it's like the wooden egg and everything else is made out of wood. It's these little things people put. Man. Everyone, I'm not gonna sit here and be judged by you people. Everyone does it. Everyone has like their little post pre-game rituals that they do before the game. That's particular mine. I've done it. I remember the first time I did that. That was against Holland against Russia, way back in the Euro, way back when. And I remember that's when I first did it. I was cheering for Holland for that particular Euro game or Euro tournament, and then I think Holland was losing 2-1, and Rudy Van Nistelrooy was gonna take a free kick from like really far out, and I was like, holy shit, I gotta do something. So I grabbed everything Holland that I could get, and I just recently at that moment I just went to the Netherlands and so I had like a bunch of a bunch of tourist stuff from the Netherlands. So I had like the wooden shoes, I had the little Dutch girl with the flag on, doll with the flag. So I put all this stuff in front of my TV, and I was like, let's see what happens. And then Van Nistelrooy scores from against Russia, really far away, and I was like, holy shit, that was it. And then that's when I started putting things in front of my TV as good luck. And Netherlands ended up losing that game anyways. I think like 3-2. But that was a good run for the Netherlands, and that's when I started that tradition. Anyways, all right. So the game that's gonna be played tomorrow is Colombia against Japan. Japan coming into this tournament on shaky ground. They haven't been having the best type of games. They had a back-to-back 2-0 loss against Ghana and Switzerland. They just recently beat Paraguay 4-2, but again, they're still on shaking ground. They still have a lot of questions to ask on their formation. They just lost on April 28th. They lost their head coach, Vahid Halilhodžić. I call him Vahid for short. And Vahid has been with them for a very long time. And there must have been some really bad blood because they fired him not even the year, but a month and a half before the World Cup. So they must have really hated this guy. And in his place, they put Akira Nishino, who doesn't have that much experience outside of Japan, international experience as a player or as a coach. So that's not something good for the national team. He did win the under-20 tournament for the Asia Federation or whatever they call the AFC. I don't even know. I forget what the federation is called, but yeah, he won that tournament and qualified Japan to the Olympics, and that ended their 28-year drought. So he has kind of that credit to him. But another thing that's kind of sketchy about him is that he hasn't been working since 2015, so he hasn't had any type of coaching credit for 3 years, and then all of a sudden he gets tossed into the national team position. So he's probably, he's got a big boots to fill in the last, and he's only had like a month to prepare. So I mean that kind of translates into a very uneasy Japan, a Japan that doesn't have its starting 11 figured out yet. It doesn't have its formation figured out yet, and now they're having some injuries. Just recently they lost Osako. I'm not really 100%. I can't verify that injury. I know sometimes teams say, oh, this player got injured in hopes to throw off the other team, but that never works. no one's that dumb. They're like, oh, he's not playing, all right, let's change everything up. No, they're going to prepare the same way. But their number 9, Osako, hasn't been injured, so that's another thing that Japan has to deal with, is injuries are starting to accumulate. And age-wise, their team is on one of the oldest, so that's another thing Japan has to deal with. Japan, not the favorite to win this game. Colombia has a pretty good margin for the odds for this particular game. But Japan and Colombia have played each other in the last World Cup. So my assumption is that Japan has studied Colombia very, very well, and there's nothing Colombia is gonna do to surprise Japan. With that, let's go to Colombia, who again I don't think they've been coming to this tournament as prepared as I would hope for. They were only able to get one friendly together against Egypt, and they were supposed to get a friendly against Greece, but apparently for financial reasons, or they just couldn't get it planned out in time, that game didn't happen. And that kind of, I'm a bit worried because some of the players in Colombia have not been having that much playing time in their clubs leading up to the World Cup. In particular, Yerimina at Barcelona, who has been sitting the bench for a couple of months there. Juan Cuadrado, who was injured and has come back from an injury. He hasn't been getting that much playing time at Juventus. And just recently, Frank Fabra got injured, and he was replaced with Johan Mojica. And Johan Mojica, he needs some time to gel with the team. I know a lot of people were panicking because Frank Fabra got injured, but I think Johan Mojica is the perfect replacement for Frank Fabra because he's either better or at the same level that Frank Fabra was. So I'm not really too worried for that situation. I think Mojica can still do a good job, but he still needs some playing time with the team. So I was hoping maybe they could get another friendly, but it wasn't meant to be. The last formation Colombia used was against Egypt, and that's a 4-2-3-1, and I think that's the formation they're going to use for this particular game tomorrow against Japan. Colombia's coach, Jose Ernesto Peckerman, has some pretty good credits to his name. He won the Under-20 World Cup in 95, 97, and in 2001. He won the Under-20 South American Championships. I think it was in 97 and 99. I think that's when that was. And he's been with Colombia since 2012. So it's a huge contrast with Akira Nishino, who just recently got thrown into that position. And I say thrown because he's a brave man to take it. That's a huge it's a huge job. It's a huge asking to tell someone, okay, coach this team or prepare this team. You have a month and a half to prepare this team for the World Cup, and he's probably like, all right, I'm gonna have to pull my socks up and grab the throttle because that's gonna be a tough job for him. But like I said, in contrast to that, you have Peckerman, who has won some Under-20 World Cups 3 times, and some South American Championship twice. And the head-to-head coach-wise, Peckerman is ahead. So even in that, and in the players and stuff like that, Colombia has players that have been playing in some of the most competitive leagues in Europe and South America, as opposed to Japan, who some of them have strictly been playing in Japan. They do have some international players, but I think not that many. But with that, I think that's everything. Let's go into my starting 11 for tomorrow. And there it is. If you look at your screen, or if people are listening to this on YouTube on their computers, I have David Ospina as the goalkeeper. Again, David Ospina, I'm a bit worried. He hasn't been getting that much playing time in Arsenal, and I felt like maybe having another friendly would have been good for the whole team, even including him. But hopefully, they've been practicing for a month now in Italy and Russia. They've had a couple of weeks to prepare, so hopefully those couple of weeks have been used very productively, and we have the David Ospina we've all seen and loved from the 2014 World Cup. In the left back position, we have Johan Mojica. Like I said, I think he's the best replacement we have. I know his backup, if he gets injured, is Fari Diaz, and Fari Diaz is not a very viable left back, especially for the tactics that Colombia have been using this far. Fari Diaz is not the left back to go, up the field, maybe play just behind Muriel or beside Davinson Sanchez. Fari Diaz is the type of left back that gets up to the midfield line, and connects the defensive part of the team to the midfield or the offensive, or the guys way up there like Falcao or James. And that's not a tactic that Colombia has been practicing or playing recently. So that's going to be a bit it's going to be too drastic of a change for Fari Diaz to come in. So hopefully Mojica stays healthy for the whole tournament, and I put him right there in the left back position. Center back, Davinson Sanchez. I know during the Egypt game, Davinson Sanchez did have that questionable moment where he kicked the ball back. towards his own keeper or his own goal, and if it wasn't for David Ospina, that would have been a very costly mistake by Davinson Sanchez. Again, hopefully these couple of weeks practicing, that's all taken care of. All the cobwebs are gone. But I think Davinson Sanchez is one of the few players that's coming in to this squad very competitive and playing a lot of games. We have Yerry Mina there again. A little nervous about him. Hasn't been getting that much playing time in Barcelona. Is that my phone? Oh shit. There you go. He hasn't been getting that much playing time in Barcelona, so I'm a bit nervous there. Behind them is Oscar Murillo, which is not that bad. Hold on, what is that noise? There you go. All right. Oscar Murillo, and especially that game against Egypt, Yerry Mina was playing, and then Peckerman substituted Oscar Murillo, and the team played way more fluid. They were just they looked more comfortable with Oscar Murillo instead of Yerry Mina. Again, I think that playing time that he's lacking in Barcelona is really affecting him. But hopefully with these practices and these couple of days of preparation, that's all taken care of, and we have the Yerry Mina we've all seen for a very, very long time, and that's the Yerry Mina that will hopefully be playing against Japan tomorrow. On the right back position, I have Santiago Arias, and hopefully Santiago Arias stays healthy this whole tournament, because there's no one there to replace him. They're gonna have to go to someone else to play that position, and that's not, they're gonna have to ask someone who's never played right back before to play as a right back. I have no clue who that is. If I look at the list of players, I don't know who can possibly play. Maybe Cuadrado. I don't know. Maybe someone. I don't know. They're gonna have to make something up. In the midfield right there, my midfield duo is gonna be Carlos Sanchez, and the reason I like Carlos Sanchez is because he has really good field vision. He doesn't concentrate or tunnel vision too much. He can kind of see a counter attack happening before it happens, and he's very quick on his feet. And I think against Japan, they play a very fast transition, fast counter attack. I want to say Counter Strike for some reason, but I've never played Counter Strike. I have like a long time ago, but I just never played the Counter Strike for me. Trying to struggle say Counter Attack over Counter Strike. But anyways, Japan's gonna play Counter Strike. See. Japan's gonna play a counter-attack type of strategy, and I think Carlos Sanchez is gonna be the best answer Colombia has for that type of game style. Abel Aguilar, I think Abel Aguilar is gonna bring his experience. He's gonna bring that. The one thing Abel Aguilar is really good at is he can take the sting out of any game. I know a lot of South American teams, they get very emotionally charged, they get very excited, they get very nervous. Sometimes they need that person to tell them to calm the game down. Abel Aguilar is going to be that type of player. He's not going to be, if he gets the ball, he will most likely, especially in those key moments, he'll most likely push it back and take the sting out of the game, get everyone focused again, get Colombia to build the play and go forward. And I think that's what he's going to bring to this national team tomorrow against Japan. On the left wing position, I put there Luis Muriel. Again, his speed, his ability to just get forward and unbalance defensive lines at the back is going to be very important against Japan, who I feel are going to play a pretty defensive type of game. And Luis Muriel is going to probably provide that, that speed and instability that Colombia can pounce on and hopefully score some goals. In the middle, I have James Rodriguez. We all know why he's there. He's been playing really well recently for Bayern, and I mean it's good. I mean when he was in Real Madrid, he wasn't getting that much playing time, and we all kind of knew he could play a whole lot better. And I think at Bayern he's been getting that playing time, and right now this is probably the best James Rodriguez we're gonna get for a while, and hopefully he stays like that for a long time. He's been playing really well recently, and I think credit that to Bayern and trusting him and putting him and giving him a lot of playing time. So James Rodriguez is going to be right there in the middle, possibly scoring goals from far out, or maybe providing an assist to Falcao or Muriel. Who knows? We'll see what happens tomorrow. On my right wing, I have Mateus Uribe, and I know a lot of people are going to put Juan Cuadrado But the reason I put Mateus Uribe there is because he could run for the full 90 minutes. He has good energy. He has a pretty good passing ability to get the ball to Muriel, James, or Falcao. He can come back and do some sort of defensive responsibilities. And I feel like Cuadrado could be used as a power substitute, maybe around the 60th minute mark, when Japanese legs are getting tired, there's some fatigue. You put in another speedy winger, and Muriel can maybe drop in closer to James, and now we have everything coming from that right wing through Cuadrado. So it's gonna be like Muriel, Cuadrado, both pushing up. And at that time, I think Japan's gonna be very tired, and we're gonna be opening a lot of spaces up in the back. And and then maybe have Mateus Uribe replace Abel Aguilar, give Aguilar some rest, and I think by the end of the game it's gonna look like that, like Mateus Uribe in the middle and Juan Cuadrado at the top. And right there, and the center forward is obviously gonna be Falcao. We all know why. He's gonna score some goals. He's gonna play very well, and he did look kind of shaky against Egypt, but hopefully this Falcao is the Falcao that we all know and love, and he scores a lot of goals. My prediction for tomorrow's game is going to be either 2-0 Colombia or 2-1 Colombia, with my most conservative prediction being a 1-1 tie. But the way this tournament has been going, it could go either way. Like, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? But that's going to be my prediction. And yeah, all right, so that's it from me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. A lot of good information. And yeah, so the lineup, if someone wants to build their own lineup, it's buildlineup.com. Let me know your starting 11, what you think about my Uribe Cuadrado switch, and what your prediction is for tomorrow. I put this podcast on different forums, and I do apologize if I try to get back to some of them, but sometimes I check and there's like a comment there that I didn't answer, and I feel really bad, because for me that's probably the most important thing, is starting a conversation about something that we are all very passionate about. So hopefully, leave a comment. I'll try to get back to all of them. Thank you for listening, and yeah, the one after this, the podcast I'm gonna do is the post match, which is gonna be on the 20th. I don't like doing it the day of because everyone's still emotionally charged and stuff like that. So I'll do it with a clear head on the 20th, and hopefully on the 20th you guys hear a very happy podcast for me, or a very analytical podcast because Colombia tied or lost or something like that. But all right, thank you for listening, and check you guys later.